All this madness and a big game is soon to be upon us. Flocking to San Francisco to watch two teams duke it out for the ultimate prize. Months of grinding and chaos culminating in one night of pigskin parties and pompous commercials. Get ready for a pregame ceremony that'll captivate the world. And it's brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, the sponsor of this video. And here's another deal that'll captivate the world. All new customers can bet $5 and receive $300 in bonus bets if it wins. Oh, glorious same-game parlays. Put a buck down on a few of them from time to time. Seattle's defense, JSN, those are my go-tos here. Hell, you can do it with any game, any situation, any sport at any time. Live betting during the games if you have a hunch. That's the glory of DraftKings in action. Yet there's something for you too if their sportsbook isn't available in your state. Daily fantasy contests. The staple of DraftKings in flexing your ball knowledge. What else is there to say? The only way to take advantage is to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code UTREE. That allows new customers to bet $5 and receive $300 in bonus bets if it wins. With DraftKings, the big game gets even bigger. Every other game too. But as always, if you partake, please play responsibly. Well, the playoffs are grinding teams away into dust, and there's plenty of pain and heartbreak to go around there. We have to take a moment to remember those who have long been on the couch. The teams whose seasons ended about a month ago and are merely trying to assess what went wrong. There are the bitter disappointments, the absolute freefalls, the recurring punchlines, and the dregs. There are a lot of them. Time to give these franchises the proper burial they deserve. In a mass grave. Panic was certainly in the air. The Dolphins were in a perilous state and predictably fell victim to whaling boats. That might not even be an allegory. Their entire cornerback room was destroyed by injury by week 4. And an even bigger disaster was occurring on the field of play. I had them pegged as a dark horse tank bowl contender, and it became more than that. A 2-7 freefall ended their ambitions quickly. A total mess wrecked like Tyreek's leg. They brought it back with winning form to end the year, but like their defense, it was simply a doomed enterprise. One where Chris Greer would be ejected from the ship years too late, but the damage had long been done. The Dolphins' window was Fire Festival without the sandwiches. A wise man once said, to win games, you have to win the game. They did not. And that is how Mike McDaniel lost his job. Figured he'd survive, but it was for the best to wipe it clean. For the next rebuild of a rebuild, Miami's seeing green. The Acme Packers delivered John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley as GM and head coach. Boston College fans are somehow snickering in the distance. I'm interested to see what they do here, but they'll need to be swift. There's a gigantic fucking elephant in the room that needs addressed.
But now, all we have is this! Empty! A mere shell of its former self. I've seen some pretty horrible things in my life, but this is just sick.
I considered last year to be the butt fumble of all butt fumbles. I underestimated the Jets. I figured with the Aaron Rodgers drama and Woody Johnson bullshit out of the way, they could show even a sliver of progress. Well, when a season begins with Rodgers getting his petty revenge, it's gonna be a special year. Imagine a team so defensively stout that they don't record a single interception on the season. The first time that's ever occurred in the history of the stat. The children would not get dessert either, for there were only 4 turnovers generated by said defense. Also a record. Garrett Wilson was the leading receiver on the team, with under 400 yards. He hadn't caught a pass since early October. Their leading passer was Justin Fields, with just over 1,000 yards. He was so bad he literally didn't throw the damn football in his hands. And Woody publicly shit on him before he was cast to hell, becoming the first team to be blown out by over 25 in each of their final 5 games. Brady Cook is one of the finest tank commanders I've ever seen. But at least they can hang their hat on having the same offensive line every game. All 60 sacks they gave up as a unit. The butt fumbling was so prevalent that Mark Sanchez joined them in self-sabotaging solidarity. Aaron Glenn is the Gerard Mayo Brian Callahan's. A man who's outright incompetent and overmatched as a head coach, yet he survives due to sunken cost fallacy. Although he was responsible for New York's only highlight this year, in the game they'd end up losing. If only those dance moves could translate into something resembling coaching talent, it'd be a lock. They have some seriously tantalizing draft capital thanks to the Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams trades, but does anyone really trust the Jets to use them wisely? This is the same team that would probably hire John Gruden because they're completely desperate. And he rejected them too. I figured the main soap opera would be taking place 4 hours west, but Baltimore wanted to make a run for a few daytime Emmy Awards. This year was so fucking Raven. When the year begins with that absolute collapse in the fourth quarter against the Bills, this Titanic's hitting that iceberg on repeat. They never really recovered from that implosion, starting the year 1-5 with ailments out the damn wazoo. And that includes Lamar. Dealing with leg injuries all year made for a limited version of his talents, if he was even on the field. The rest was a Cooper-Anal rush of shit down their leg. Oh, this was a fine vintage that slipped out of their hands like a Mark Andrews lateral to nowhere. They chose to extend this guy over Isaiah Likely, by the way. Although with his butterfingers, might be for the best. Particularly with that defense. Zach Orr's unit had two modes: Swiss cheese and swinging door. With how many yards they gave up through the air, you'd think they were delivering cargo. Like Roquan Smith, no impact plays, which resulted in a slow free fall into the abyss of hell itself. This team's fucking infuriating. How many games are they gonna squander? No wonder why John Harbaugh was told to fuck off. Long past his expiration date and refusing to let go of his precious Todd Monken. Keeping with the Harbaugh connection, Jesse Minter will try to usher them into a new age. He did masterful work in LA, but he'll need to work miracles. This team's on the edge of being an afterthought like the early 90s Oilers. And the Tyler Loop miss was merely the cherry on top of a 5-alarm fire. They'd have gotten their asses kicked in the wildcard anyway. An organization's delusions can run deep, consuming every organ, vessel, and artery in their necrotic, pus-infested body. Honestly, it might be the perfect symbolism for Mike Brown. The rot's terminal, but they live on in spite of themselves. So let us understand, Bucs. You had an unbelievably terrible defense to start, then you removed pieces from it, and Trey Hendrickson's body went out from under it. Now tell me how you expected that unit to make improvements with lesser talent. Oh no, Tree, Joe Burrow's gonna swing and make every contest a 45-42 Big Ten throwback! And then he got hurt long term. Jake Browning's second run went the way of the dodo, and they desperately went after Joe Flacco to try and save their season. Despite the terrible defense, since he gets what they fucking deserve. Cool Joe rattled off a few wins with nothing to play for, and the status quo shall remain. Absolutely nobody's getting fired. Everything is perfect at Paycor. Brass legitimately believes they were Joe Burrow away from competing. It's so damn predictable, too. No, we don't need to worry about the generationally bad defense or the incredibly flawed roster construction of the first-round pick that only had one fucking sack all year. Modern-era Dan Marino will save us from ourselves. The perfect reason to be cheap asses and let the gangrenous infection spread. The rest of the AFC North thanks you. The Browns is the Browns. A tale as old as the last time this organization was worthy of respect. I'll give them this. That defense was fucking incredible. A shutdown unit dialed into a dying season, destroying nearly everything in their path. Myles Garrett broke not only the spirit of QBs everywhere, he broke the single-season sack record. Not only if he and the rest of his comrades could do that to the sheer ineptitude Cleveland calls an offense on repeat. Just stack the box against them. They don't have a damn quarterback or healthy O-line. And even if they throw a pass, their receivers are just gonna drop most of them. They may not have a choice but to go back to Deshaun. Their future is either a dude that can't throw a football more than 15 fucking yards, or one of the worst statistical QBs to take a snap in the damn NFL. Wait, that guy made a Pro Bowl? We're handing out participation trophies now. What's happening to my league? Kevin Stefanski had 2 attempts to install his perfect offense, and it horrifically backfired both times. Think that 2-point conversion against the Titans. The offensive explosion took out Stefanski in the process. Just another day at the factory of sadness. They need a new headman, and Haslam and Andrew Berry are leading the charge. Did Berry successfully answer the questionnaire and essay section of the 7-hour interview? Maybe he survived because it was multiple choice. And why a bunch of candidates pulled out of consideration. All this pomp and circumstance just to settle on Todd Monken. He may be uninspiring as hell, but he was willing to keep Jim Schwartz around as DC, so he'll do. What the hell do you mean Schwartz ran out the door? Can Haslam be named in the Epstein files already? If you were to tell me back in August that the Colts would finish 8-9, I'd have believed you without question. You know, gassed up mid, fancying themselves as far superior than they are. A fitting record for a team starting Danny Derps under center. But looking at how it happened, dear God, that is cruelty to find. Did their fans really deserve this? They already had to watch the Halibut's Achilles get bombed out by Shea Team 6. How does a team that shockingly looks like a wagon, dominates their foes left and right, and we're a pair of Adonai Mitchell fuck-ups away from being 8-0 flat-out collapse like that? Probably regression to the mean and a horrible curse. This was a team so confident in their ability to go deep that they traded 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner, who immediately got knocked out for the year shortly thereafter. Javarius Ward was looked at as a key cog but suffered multiple concussions and may retire from the sport entirely. DeForest Buckner might do the same. And Indiana Jones. First he broke his leg, then the Achilles in his other leg snapped like the Colts offense. Hate to say it, but the fall was beginning before the injury. Teams simply realized all they had to do was stack 7. Danny Derps can't throw without a run game. It was a season that fell to shit so badly that they were forced to conscript Phillip Rivers from the farm on emergency duty. And this isn't close to being on him. That dude played his ass off. But everything snapped like the stretch band Anthony Richardson was using in that damn locker room. A season rivaling the 94 Eagles or 03 Vikings. Legendary pain. And all they can do is blame injuries and try again. Chris Ballard somehow keeps surviving, man. It's as inexplicable as how the hell this season happened. At least the Hoosiers won the Natty. If they didn't, the entire state would sink into a bottomless pit. At this point, I just click the Sim 10 years option for the Titans and pray Amy Adams Strunk either finds Jesus or a coffin. We figured Tennessee would be god-awful this year, but I saw better performance and competency from any ass. Keep it a buck right now, they're fucking ass. The Titans can't offense properly, but they make up for it by being unable to defense whatsoever without Jeffrey Simmons. Legitimately one of the worst teams chucked on a professional football field in about a year. Cam Ward had a nightmare rookie season, merely reinforcing survival instincts and bad habits trying to run for his damn life every play. It was fun to watch, but honestly I'm treating this year like Trevor Lawrence under Urban Meyer. Simply forget this ever happened. Why didn't they fire Brian Callahan for his hackery after last year? I don't know, but his only perk was throwing players under the bus each week. Only a matter of time before the Titans mangled him like a scoring situation. And that is how you waste a season. With a completely inept executive branch full of civil wars and completely differing visions, and all of them end up driving a team off a cliff. Mike Borgonzi and Matt Nagy were pretty tight back in Kansas City. The fear was palpable he'd be their next head coach. You can relax, Titans fans, it's not Nagy. You're getting the Ball brothers. Robert Saleh with Brian Dable calling the shots on offense. Congratulations, Cam Ward. You might not be fucked up by this coaching staff after all. Team ownership, on the other hand? They're gone. Kansas City's glory just up and vanished? Turns out 2024 was a smoke and mirrors campaign. Years upon years of poor drafting, stubborn approaches, and deep playoff runs have finally taken their toll. The schoolyard bully's been weakened by age and overconfidence. Now he'll be walloped by those he tormented for years. The Deus Ex Machina transferred over to Denver this year. Instead of pulling out endless bullshit, the one-score pendulum swung hard the other way. Only one win within one score. Perhaps trading that third-round pick for Breece Hall would have been wise. The run game was absolutely pathetic, ranging from an injury-nerfed Pacheco to Kareem Hunt in 2026. And then everything else was dropped by the receivers. I rest my case. The game plan seemed to rely on Patrick Mahomes and the defense pulling rabbits out of their ass at every given opportunity, and they just couldn't. It didn't feel right, but all falls from grace must have finality. Worst-case scenario happened. Mahomes suffered an ACL tear. The season was long over at that point, but it's still devastating to have to rely on Gardner Minshew, who also suffered a season-ending injury the week after. Chris Oladokun, hearkening Chiefs fans to flashbacks of Brody Croyle and Tyler Palko. Miss those days? You won't be back there as long as Mahomes is healthy, but the Chiefs need a serious enema. And the core isn't getting younger. Chris Jones was more for game-costing plays instead of his usual fare. Travis Kelce will apparently be back, but did you see him play? The dude's so cooked, Andy Reid's about to call him a cheeseburger. Speaking of which, it might be time for a nice retirement one for him soon, too. Eric Bieniemy's back, but it's not going to do much unless Mahomes is at full strength. The evil's been locked away. For now. Who knows when it will emerge from slumber once again. They killed the man, but not the idea. Remember when they beat the Patriots in Week 1? How absolutely no one was impressed by it, despite the Raiders taking Seahawks leftovers for themselves? Pete Carroll punched out a whiteboard and apparently punched out whatever hopes they had. If the performances they put on was with Tom Brady allegedly colluding with his coordinators, how toothless would the shit pile be without it? This team was supposed to have expectations. In what, being useless? Geno Smith was supposed to bring stability, but only punched them in the jaw with his Jets form. Yes, we are gonna blame you, Geno. Seattle's laughing hysterically as he got killed by that O-line. And the winner for best performance as a parking cone goes to DJ Glaze and Stone Forsythe. Ashton Ginty and Brock Bowers were the Bugattis in Chip Kelly's trailer park. This guy was the most expensive paperweight as OC the league has ever seen. You'll have to swallow that poison pill yourself. Same goes for their Plan G and Pete Carroll. Like his kids in major coaching roles, chewed up like a wad of bubblegum. Dude's mega cooked and so are the Raiders. This time they get their primary target in, you guessed it, another former Seahawk. Clint Kubiak's highly regarded. And he's coming across the Mendoza line to a team that secured Tank Bowl glory. It was done in the most blatant fashion possible. And all it might have cost them was Max Crosby. Once men die, they'll be kissed on the forehead Christian Wilkins style. You hear that, Jerry? That's the sound of you needing to look at the reflection staring back at you in the mirror. That abomination on the field? That's your team. Well, the offense isn't. A healthy Dak and a motivated George Pickens brought them to their best performance in years. Prescott should have been getting MVP votes with that high-powered attack. It was one of the best in football. You ask why didn't he? Well, take last year's god-awful defense and make it tied down to a floose goose. Oh, Matt Eberflus, you were supposed to be a defensive mastermind and all you mastered was surrendering endless tracts of land. You wanted to stop the run, Jerry? Well, now you're stopping nothing. I'd say Micah Parsons would have helped, but he honestly wouldn't with how shit it was. We're talking a defense worse than the 2008 Detroit Lions. You know how god-awful you have to be to eclipse them? The Cowboys made the Cardinals look like world beaters. Everything is dire. Then Jerry Boy realized he's getting old and decided to buy at the deadline with Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson with a losing record, and still failed to correct the issue of their god-awful linebackers in secondary. Trayvon Diggs became burnt toast every play. A thud like the TV that landed on his head, apparently? He imitated the entire team by not wanting to get on the team plane and was promptly told to fuck off. What a waste of that offense. Schottenheimer wasn't a complete joke like I thought, but he was the one that brought in Eberflus, so it's a demerit. Knowing them boys, they'll pay George Pickens the big bucks and Jerry Boy lives to 120. This kicker's truly one for the Cards. Like a young Waku kick into the dirt itself. Truly a derp of derps. Leave it to that position to ruin nearly everything of note. From the off-injured Graham Gannott playing to Cuckoo to a literal affirmative action hire that couldn't make a PAT. We're talking Jalen Hyatt levels of disaster. Russell Wilson had more poise in the damn pocket here than the G-Men did in 2025. Fooled into belief and merely falling into an abyss of choking. The thing is, if they had a defensive coordinator who wasn't a total hack, they would have had a chance at the playoffs. How many fourth quarters did they blow with chicken shit prevent defenses and playing not to lose? Shane Bowen was a living war crime. One that would make Nuremberg want to throw the book at him. Sticking with him cost Brian Dable his luster as a coach and his job. And of course, for good measure, finally start winning games when it doesn't matter with a damn. Oh, now you finally get a kicker that can do something. Now you fire Shane Bowen. Now you fuck up your tank. You literally can't do a damn thing right. It's hilariously tragic. That being said, they are primed for a bounce-back season next year. Especially if Cam Scatterboo and Malik Neighbors can return to form and Jackson Dart can stop running into concussion checks. Although trying to fix a team that repeatedly blew fourth-quarter leads by hiring a man notorious for blowing fourth-quarter leads. John Harbaugh will be an improvement, but I don't know if it'll be by much. Why the hell is Joe Shane still here anyway? Why the hell isn't Steve Tisch in jail? I know a lot of us had this team pinned for regression after last year's miracle run, but this was a cataclysmic Snyder-esque freefall. Adam Peters saw the team he had. He went all in on bets, swung for the fences, and whiffed horrifically. I appreciate the attempt, but sometimes shit isn't meant to work. Especially with a team as old as dirt. Even then, it's like the lights just went off all at once. You honestly know when everything fell to shit? That loss to Chicago. Remember how that Hail Mary gave Washington life last year? That walk-off Moody field goal gave both franchises the Freaky Friday routine. Bears ran away with endless MacGuffins Washington had. Commies were afflicted with devastating levels of Eberflus. Not kidding, the entire team fell to the sword of injury. With their age, more than a few careers were probably ended in the process. Even Jaden Daniels was taken out in the end. In a blowout contest when he should have been pulled. And then rushed back to re-aggravate the injury-harkening fears of RG3 him. Dan Quinn is so lucky that last year happened or else he'd have choked on another firing. Nearly all of his henchmen didn't have the same fortune. Here's the thing, they still have promise with Jaden, but with their aging roster and free fall since October, the optimism's a bit more restrained. At least you have that new stadium going up where RFK was? What do you mean Josh Harris is all over Epstein's emails? Let's take you back to when they crushed the Bears early on. Putting up a 50 burger on that upstart former apprentice of theirs. Good times. If only you could bottle up that moment as a keepsake. That's the peak of what this Lions season would be. The rest fell to shit in a handbasket in a hurry. Gambling Dan kept going back to the fourth down craps table. He put everything on red. His team, his offensive prowess, his play calling acumen, the health of his secondary. And Campbell lost every time. Over-aggression led to their demise. That and their entire secondary and O-line dying for long stretches of time. A battered defense suddenly giving up shitloads of yards en masse. Sheer inconsistency destroying them at every turn. A strong 4-1 start falling to disarray and chaos in the blink of an eye. A team as lost at sea as John Morton's overly complicated offense. Which is why he got stripped of play calling duty then promptly shit canned. So many frustrating losses when they just came up short. The first foray against the Vikings and Brian Flores spamming blitzes. The Steelers in perpetual stepping into end zone landmines. Losing to Max fucking Brosmer. The fan dread's coming back. Oh god, are they really going to go back to the same old Lions? I mean, it should be fine, but Dan needs to nail his coordinator hires. He's a CEO coach that copied Ben Johnson's homework without understanding the methods to the madness. His next OC will be very telling towards his future. Group Petzing?
Now you fucked up! Now you fucked up! Now you fucked up! Now you fucked up!
You know exactly why the Vikings didn't make the playoffs. I know you're gonna say letting go of Sam Darnold, but that's not the true path. You should have completed the cycle. You should have brought in Aaron Rodgers. If they do that, they make the dance. It was a team built to go deep. One of the best receiving corps in the game. A defense that wrecks everything in sight. Pro Bowlers everywhere you look. Get it unraveled and disintegrated like their O-line. Minnesota converted to McCarthyism and ended up on football's blacklist. J.J. McCarthy was so potent that he rivaled the QB power of Andrew Walter and Jamarcus Russell. No, that wasn't J.J., that was 9! His alter ego's responsible for him getting hurt all the time, too. Then the cannon fodder became the shell of Carson Wentz, who was given a slow and painful death. After that was Max Brosmer. That dude should never see an NFL field again. Of course, Minnesota goes on a win streak to end the year when nothing matters, and the wasted season is successfully completed. Statements had to be made. The Vikings saw Darnold take Seattle to a Super Bowl and immediately took off Kwesi Adolfo-Mensa's head. An outcome as poor as his drafting. Or the $48 million cap hole he left them in. Harrison Smith may have had his career end like this. It's a good way to put a potential window on ice. 2 on the nose? I can't believe it. The Falcons choking away a potential playoff team? This has never happened in their history. Seriously though, if you still have hope in Atlanta after all this time, you have the memory of a goldfish. Well done, you fixed the massive edge rusher hole you should have fixed last year, and the cost was apparently the 2025 campaign. The Wile E. Coyote duo of Raheem Morris and Hack Robinson tried to capture that Roadrunner success only to miss the kick repeatedly and fire a cannon at themselves at every turn. Like latter stage Young Wei Koo, miss after miss. Getting dominated by Bryce Young and his Panthers twice. Having your shit kicked in by a 1-6 Dolphins squad. John Parker Romo sabotage against New England. The Jets. Losing to the fucking Jets? Oh right, this team only plays up to potential once eliminated from playoff contention. The only benefit was the sheer hilarity of Week 18. And reinforcing sheer ineptitude. It's all across the damn organization. You spend a shitload of money on Kirko to fix a quarterback problem, tamper to do so, inexplicably reinforce it with spending a top 10 pick on Michael Penix, and you still have a massive quarterback problem! Penix had his 3rd ACL tear in 5 years. Other knee, fortunately, but that question's gonna keep popping up. Plus, they realize Cousins was simply scamming them for money and will be cast off to secure yet another bag somewhere else. After years of failure, Arthur Blank broke out of his Theoden King trance and cast off his Grima Wormtongue along with everyone else in a mass purge. About damn time. Now we can begin a new era under Matt Ryan. He can't be worse than Rich McKay, right? They did get Ian Cunningham as GM and Kevin Stefanski to lead the charge. If Stefanski can't do anything with this offense, I don't know what to say. Don't lie to yourself, Saints. You needed this. Years of delusions and fruitlessly trying to stretch out a contending era finally resulted in forcing change, kicking, and screaming. Let's be real, even if Derek Carr were healthy, it'd have been the same outcome. He would have gotten them what? Another win? Maybe 2? Quarterback wasn't the problem. It was everything else. The same old aging, injury-prone roster that can't adequately replace what was lost and slowly withering into nothing. Mickey Loomis desperately tries to pry open a window that slams shut in his hands. It ain't working. When the year starts off 1-8, it's long over. Just stop. Accept the need to rebuild from the ground up and go from there. Look no further than under center. It started with Spencer Rattler. He was decent, but not good enough, so we got benched for the prize in Tyler Shuck. Look, New Orleans has so many damn problems to fix, they might as well give Shuck another year to see what they've got. Who knows, he could very well be the guy. They did rattle off a few wins to end the year in a sign of progress. Shuck looked decent enough in that very soft underbelly of a schedule. He and Kellen Moore did what they could with electricians and plumbers in the skill positions by the end. And it's a decent send-off for more than a few potential goodbyes. Taysom Hill, Cameron Jordan, and Demario Davis may have played their last games as Saints. It's a bittersweet end of an era, even if it should have ended 5 years ago. It says something when New Orleans doesn't have the bleakest outlook in their division. So this is how we're doing things now? in a division that's been all but yours by default, with an incredible start and multi-game lead to boot. And you put together one of the most spectacular collapses of the season. Thank the good Lord the Colts exist, or else you'd be getting fucking buried by the world. Strange how they punch out a bunch of unsustainable wins when their team was devastated by injury. Yet like a Mika Egbuka fall off the face of the map once healthy. Worse, it was against opponents in situations where there was no excuse to lose. That cakewalk division walked all over you for a change. What the fuck is a defense? Probably have a better chance of them finding one than they do of stopping a 3rd and 28. It's kinda hard to win anything once Baker Mayfield's non-throwing shoulder gets banged up again. Around the time of that ailment, he became pedestrian, and the offense became very predictable. Oh no, you don't have a mastermind OC and borderline MVP caliber QB play bailing you out? Poor things. Why the fuck is Todd Bowles still here? What has he done to earn another year running this team into the ground? Is his throwing players under the bus per 60 at a desirable rate for the Bucs? Oh my god, I figured it out. The Glazers are scared shitless of Bruce Arians. They're so afraid of pissing him off that they're walking themselves off the damn plank. Josh Grizzard's the scapegoat here because he wasn't the 3rd grade OC hire in a row for them. When it gets to the point where you have to root for the goddamn Saints to do anything, it's over. The Bucs didn't even have a Mike Evans streak to fall back on. A cataclysmic disaster of a season. You have to wonder if the wheels fall off this team soon. Is another elite OC walking through the door? Of course not, it's Hack Robinson. Somehow every Cardinals season for the past decade is blended into one another. Like a perfect amalgamation of slop chucked on a wall that Arizona proceeds to call football. The rest of the NFC West has emerged into an elite echelon. 3 teams in the divisional round, 1 making the Super Bowl itself. And the Cardinals. Their 2025 season was like Amari DiMercato, running free across the landscape, ready to score an easy touchdown, and then drops the ball at the 1-yard line. Shit, that's the Cardinals as a damn franchise. An absolutely avoidable debacle that merely repeats the same shit every shit year with its shit fail son of a fail son at the top. How many games you gonna lose by 1 score, Jonathan? Yes. Nothing happened after the Titans collapse, minus a fine for Gannon, so the football gods took matters into their own hands. The entire team died. Not hyperbole. Their entire roster was outright devastated by injuries that led to a sheer collapse of anything resembling talent and team culture. That includes the perpetual cocktease known as Kyler Murray. He was out for the year with a foot injury sustained during a botched snap? Yeah, the Kyler window's been an entire bucket of nothing. You're going on a bus to whoever swallows your damn contract. There is legitimately no benefit to this team. If the NFL forced them to contract, there'd be some cheering. Nobody cares for this property franchise, and it shows. All they were good for was fantasy teams that owned Michael Wilson and Trey McBride. Then after radioactive fallout consumed Glendale, then Jonathan Gannon was cast off to sea. He said he was confident he'd keep his job, and the Cards were like, oh no, you can have a stern look with your arms crossed somewhere else. Yes, Mike LaFleur's totally gonna fix everything, even though he didn't call plays on offense in LA. Merely skinning other teams alive instead of building your own culture. You keep being you worthless hacks. I'm over-exaggerating their problems, though. They upgraded the Wi-Fi. The true victory in life.
And we hear him. Another trick play as Olszewski throws. It's caught. Olszewski with the pass into the end zone for a Giants touchdown. Jameis Winston